I wanted to, kick things off here just by presenting a high-level agenda after, of course, the privacy slide that we have to show right here at the beginning. I won't go through this in depth, but really what we're hoping to speak to today and illustrate is the relationship that we have with SAP as a solution extension partner for SAP BI, delivering and supporting use cases. So first and foremost, in the first section, we will be just giving you guys some high-level info around Galigeo, a few vertical use cases, highlighting the extension architecture itself, where we will spend the majority of today's time will be in the products themselves. I've had Vincent join the discussion as well, given that a big focus of what he does for Galigeo is pretty much manage the roadmap for our Lumira extension and our Design Studio extension. We'll have a focus around Lumira, obviously given that this is a Lumira series, and from there we'll transition into Design Studio, given sort of the direction that SAP is heading with these products, and just save a little bit of time at the end to showcase that there is a very similar experience that you can take advantage of within Web Intelligence as well. So, to kick things off once again, a little bit of background information around who we are. We've been in this space for over 15 years at this point in time. We've actually been an SAP partner for quite some time, but expanded the partnership in 2013, becoming a solution extension partner. What that means is we're more than just an SAP partner. We work with SAP technology teams, product teams, R&D teams to continue to innovate our solutions around the SAP BI stack. We do have SAP certifications. We are SAP certified. And we'll show exactly what that means in the solution today. There's a very tight integration between the BI environment and our extensions, so users don't have to necessarily go to a different environment, really a different location to get to the same insights that they get from SAP BI. Vincent and I are speaking to you from our headquarters in Paris, France, but we also have locations across North America and the US as well as Canada. We have three core solution extensions, and these three core solution extensions we will be showcasing on today's webinar. We will dedicate more time around Galigeo for Lumira, really illustrating the self-service use cases that you can have with maps, as well as creating different types of visualizations using our mapping extensions. From there, we'll transition more to Design Studio to support the different dashboard. We will finish with Webby to just showcase how you can augment the capabilities you have in some of your ad hoc reports or operational reports that your organization may have stood up over the years. There'll be three core areas that we will pretty much resonate throughout the product demonstrations. And these three core areas can be the way that you can think about where SAP native geo functionality ends and where our extension can start supporting some of the more advanced mapping use cases that business users, customers may have had in place as requirements. So on the left-hand side, the easiest one is going to be from a geo visualization perspective. We're going to give you a gallery of different types of visualization options that you can include on a map itself. One that comes up time and time again, obviously, is as simple as a heat map. We're going to illustrate some use cases around heat maps, but more importantly, other visual options that your users can take advantage of. The middle column is going to speak to more geoanalytics, more of the traditional types of BI functions that you would expect to see in a BI application, but that can also be launched from an actual map itself. So we're going to speak to how you can take advantage of maybe hierarchies that you've already created in your backend environments directly in our extensions, but more importantly, help you guys understand what you can actually do with the map itself, other than a visualization, other than just showing information on that map. Different selection tools are available in our extensions to filter as well as drill down into specific data sets that you can then do additional analysis on. So we'll showcase some of these different types of more traditional BI features that you're also going to have available through our mapping extensions. Finally, on the right, we're going to illustrate some of the other, more advanced options that are around actionable location analytics. The focus here obviously is going to be how can you collaborate, how can you socialize with the findings with other individuals within an organization, how you can set up different types of mechanisms, like alerts and recommendations. And finally, Vincent will showcase how you can also incorporate and launch custom actions to maybe open up different types of environments, different types of applications, different types of software solutions to make it a very integrated environment. There are maybe 4 or 5 slides here before we pretty much are almost through this first part of this webinar that I wanted just to speak to, just to illustrate what are going to be some of the core features that our customers are asking us for, trends that we're seeing in the marketplace, and really where you're going to be seeing more value than other extensions in the market that support the location analytics, location intelligence types of projects. The ability to connect to your own geodata. This is probably one of the biggest points, one of the biggest areas for why organizations are looking to leverage our extension in conjunction with SAP BI. The ability for you to connect from a variety of types of sources. And a few examples, obviously, Esri, whether that's online or on-premise, different types of even flat files, like shape files or GeoJSON, where you've defined a shape, a custom type of territory that you want to be able to illustrate on a map itself. Something that doesn't follow a geopolitical boundary, something that doesn't follow a country, something that's really custom to your business and how you guys approach the marketplace in general. So we'll illustrate this in the 3 extensions today, how you can bring in some of these custom territories in just a matter of a couple of steps, and more importantly, how you can then use these different shapes as measures, as dimensions, as different outputs on a map itself. There is an engine that's built in our product that we call our Smart Mapping Engine that also is going to give users more of a guided approach to being able to understand how they should visualize information on a map. Based on the type of information, based on the categorical data that they're looking to illustrate on a map, our engine is able to recommend the best fit visualization based on what a user is looking to accomplish. Of course, drilling up and drilling down. A lot of us think that this may be something pretty basic, that all BI applications have this in place, but we're going to illustrate exactly what that means in our solution and how this also is going to help you guys with hierarchies and being able even to create hierarchies on the fly from the actual BI application itself. So there's different ways that you're going to be able to set this up, and Vincent will illustrate the different options that you have as well too. The ability to really have this notion of actionable data. So I mentioned earlier there's going to be different selection or filtering mechanisms that you're going to be able to take advantage of in our extensions. 3 core ones, of course, a free drawing, an ISO distance, and a drive time tend to come up as probably the most common selection filter mechanisms that are used throughout our extensions, and that's what we'll focus on to introduce you guys to different options in the demonstrations today. Finally, the notion of bidirectional BI. What you filter on a map will drive the behavior of the BI application, or vice versa, what you want to filter or click on in a more traditional BI output created with SAP BI can drive what a map presents to users as information. So we'll showcase exactly how you can create some of these dynamic environments, how you'll be able to also customize how you want users to be able to interact with some of these outputs, where it's needed to have more of a dynamic environment versus more of a static environment, and how users can pretty much get to insights that they want a lot easier by creating sort of this join and integration between the different visual outputs in a BI application. 2 final slides here just to illustrate pretty much some customers that you may recognize across the world. There's not necessarily a geographical focus that we have. We don't also have a vertical focus. Our solution is relatively horizontal. Where SAP BI is being used, our extensions can be used for various different types of applications. We do tend to see 5 core areas where our solution tends to be more predominantly used. Sales and marketing for food and beverage, retail, pharma, in particular use cases that are supporting operations or site selection, as well as use cases around sales performance and territory management. These are definitely bread and butter use cases for us. We see these time and time again in some of these different verticals, but needless to say, we extend to other more disparate projects like with government agencies, whether it's local, state, federal, or even police. A great example is police. We work with different police agencies and organizations around the world to help them understand and analyze different crimes that are being committed in a specific region, in a specific territory. They want to be able to visualize this information on a map and also be able to link the different cases and the different traditional KPIs that they're looking to track for the different crimes across a specific territory. Utilities is obviously going to be another big vertical for us, and I won't go on all of these in depth, but utilities is sometimes challenging for organizations with use cases that are looking to be able to visualize water, roads, railways, fiber net lines, and telco type of verticals, things that don't necessarily follow the traditional geopolitical boundaries on a map. But more importantly, on these roads, on these electrical grids, on these fiber net lines that you can very easily incorporate on a map, also correlate a KPI to drive maybe a certain road to highlight in a certain color, to also indicate to a user what that one or multiple KPI that they're looking to track may be in that specific instance. Insurance, healthcare, we obviously see other projects in these verticals. I won't go through all of these in depth. We did just speak about transportation as being, once again, a big use case for us. We see projects, for example, around traffic monitoring, being able to really get a better understanding of maintenance as well as incidents on different railways, on different roads, to be able to manage and allocate resources moving forward to optimize how they do their business and how they can sustain their business moving forward. Vincent, the final slide that I'll speak to here before passing the floor over to you will be a quick illustration of our architecture. In a nutshell, you can see that SAP is going to be on the left-hand side here with Lumira, Design Studio, and Web Intelligence. You have some of your traditional operational data sources like HANA, BW, different types of databases and ERPs that are feeding data already into the BI client itself. Galigeo is also represented, more on the side of business intelligence. On the right-hand side, you're going to see your GIS data sources. Some of these could be big GIS data providers like Esri that we mentioned earlier, but it's not just limited to that. You can use other data sources like Oracle, Postgres, SAP HANA, and also traditional ones that we see are shapefiles or GeoJSON where something's been defined in a flat file that you can very easily call into the product. Our value comes from being able to create a link from these data sources with the operational BI data sources that you have in place, but really enable you to do this from the BI environment itself. You're going to see in all three extensions that we never really leave Lumira, Design Studio, or Webby when we're creating or consuming different types of BI outputs. Vincent, with that, I want to pass the floor over to you so we can start showcasing some of these points in the actual extensions themselves.
Thanks, Philippe. So we will start in Lumira. So there, the use case I want to present right now is a use case about a retail that takes place in the Bahamas. And this is a dataset coming from a company that is selling drinks across the world. And 1 year ago, they launched their drinks in the Bahamas. And right now they have a data set with different information. So to go quickly over them, so they have the longitude and the latitude for each account. So the account basically is a club or a supermarket, a nightclub or restaurant. As well, they also have the name of this account. Each account is part of a sales territory. And for each territory, there is a sales rep which is responsible of this territory. And of course, they have some other KPI, like we can see right there. They have the turnover, they have the expected turnover, etc., etc. And based on that, they want to quickly analyze where the turnover is coming from over the island, if there is a type of account which generates more turnover, more revenue than the other, and if the overall performance from what was expected to what was realized really in terms of revenue is good over the island. So right now I'm going to switch directly in the visualize room. So as you can see, I've already created some visualization, but we are going to create another one from scratch just to show you that it's really easy to create a maps just by drag and dropping the dimension and the measures, and to get some quick insight and find hidden trends really quickly. So let's create a new visualization. So the Galigeo for Lumira charts maps lies right here, as you can see. So it's directly accessible from the chart extension with the small Galigeo pin icon. And let's select the Galigeo map extension. So you see there is the heat map one and the map, which is more the more traditional type of use case. So let's select this one. As you can see, as I select it, I jump directly on the map. I would say a blank map. I just see the whole world because I do not have dragged some dimension already. And as I've mentioned, I have the latitude and the longitude of my accounts directly in my BI. So I can leverage that directly by drag and dropping the latitude and the longitude in the GeoDimension feed, which is called GeoDimension. And as you can see, I have all my accounts that are directly mapped over the bar map. So there I have first information of where they are located in the island. And exactly like I did for the latitude and longitude, I can drag a measure. For example, let's select the turnover for the last year. And exactly the same, I have a first view of my data, of my turnover per account. And what you can see right there is that on this part of the island, it seems to be bigger than the other part, meaning that the turnover is highest right there. But there is, you have to agree that there is too much points on a small area, so it's maybe a bit too hard to really see where the turnover is really coming from. So this is a good use case to switch to the heat map view of the data. So there I'm just switching to the heat map view, and there I have a more, I would say, accurate view of the turnover. So as you can see, just by switching the extension, I have found my first insight, because there I can clearly see over the island where the revenue is coming from, where the turnover is coming from. So you can clearly see that it's coming from this part of the island, and of course you have access to all the I would say the standard feature from a map. You can zoom in, you can drag, you can pan, and of course you can go to a more street levels with your heat map. So, for example, in this part of the island, you can clearly see where the turnover is the highest, and of course you can play with the visualization to adjust it, to make it look like exactly like you want. So there you have a first good overview of where as I said, the revenue is generated in the Bahamas. So let's switch back to the Galigeo map. So we are going back with our bubbles right there. So we see the turnover per account, but as I've mentioned in the dataset, we also have an information about which sales rep is responsible for each account. So maybe right now what I want to see, I still want to see the turnover per account, but I also want to see which sales rep is responsible for each account. So I can just pick the sales rep here and drag it in the color feed, right there, the color one. And as you can see, as Philippe mentioned during the slide presentation, is that the Galigeo for Lumira extension embeds what we call a smart visualization engine that will analyze the data and always try to display it on the map the best way it can. So for example, right there you have a different color for each sales rep. So for example, the blue one is Freddie Marlon, the purple one is Josepha River, And as you can see, everything you have dragged right there, all the KPI you have dragged right there, you can access their value by clicking on an account. So for example, if I also drag the account name to see, because I want to see when I click on an account, I want to see the name of this account. So there is the account name, but of course it could be the addresses, it could be any other information, maybe the number of times a sales visited this account, if you have this information in your BI. And if you click on an account, as you can see, you now have the information about the account name. So this one is Camimbo, etc., etc. So there you have a nice view as well of the data. So this one, there is maybe, I would say, too much color. So I would say it's beautiful to look at, but you could have maybe too much color. But as you can guess, it's a good way to I would say to separate the data. Per category. For example, if you have 3 different products that are sold to this account, you could have a color for each of them. So for example, I have an information of which drink is the most sold, which is the best selling drink per account. So exactly the same. I removed the sales rep and I've drag and drop this one, the best selling drink, and now I have a different view, and of course exactly the same. Each color represents a different type of drink. So something I wanted to show also, what I've done in my dataset. So in my dataset, I have the expected turnover for the last year, and I have the real turnover. So I won't go through that right now. But basically, what I've done directly in Lumira is that I have subtracted the turnover per the expected turnover. So I have a first, I would say, a new KPI, which is the performance. So if the performance is negative, the value is negative, that means that I have done less revenue. That's what I expected. So let's just drag it right there in the indicator. And as you can see right now, I have 2 different colors. So all the green one are the accounts where the performance is positive, is above 0, and all the red one are the one where the performance is negative. So there you have also a good view that on this part of the island, the performance of the account is bad. So maybe you could right now want to just go on a deeper analysis on this part of the island. So to do that, I can use several tools, like for example this one to select the data as I want. So I can just draw something on the map, and it will select all the data in what I've been drawing. And then you can filter them. You can, of course, export them to Excel. So it will just export the data you have selected to Excel. So I won't go through it right now. But of course, you can filter them if you want to go on the deeper analysis, or if you want to only focus on this part of the island, because this is where there are the most accounts with bad performance. As you can see, you have access to directly to this feature, this filtering feature from the map. And there is also this one which is pretty good, is the ISO distance one. So there you just input a distance, so it can be in miles or in kilometers. So there I've selected 1 kilometer, and then if I click on the map, if I click on the points in the map, it will select only the data that are within the distance I've set there. So there it only selected the data that are within 1 kilometer radius from where I clicked. So it can be a pretty good tool to answer several use cases. So let's remove the filter to move forward right now, and let's remove as well the performance. So what we have seen, as I told in the prepare room, we also have an indication about the sales territory. So the sales territory basically can be a custom, I would say, a custom geodata that has been defined, I don't know, by IT, by the marketing team, by the sales team. And what I've been able to do is that I've been able to import it, and then I'm going to consume it right now into Lumira. And it works exactly like the longitude and the latitude. If I just drag and drop it right there, so for example, the territory, so this is my sales territory. As you can see, I have the possibility to add really my own layer. So this is not a layer which is, I would say, standard in Lumira. This is really a custom layer that I have imported, and I'm able to consume it right here. And of course, it has also the turnover aggregated. For example, so it took all the accounts that are within this territory, and the value there is aggregated, so you don't have to worry about that. So there you have, I would say, a dual view. You see the territory and the account in the same time. But you could say, okay, we talked about drill down right now. Maybe you want to be able to drill from a territory to the accounts. So you can do it on the fly. So basically, you just have to put there the dimension in the right order, and the extension will create a hierarchy on the fly. So for example, I just drag the territory on top of the accounts. And as you can see, the accounts have disappeared. So right there, when I click on the territory, I can drill from the territory to the accounts, and exactly the same I can drill up from the accounts to the territory. And what is pretty cool is that you are not limited to two levels of hierarchy. For example, I also have the district. So the districts are a more macro level than the territory. I can exactly do the same. I can just drag my district right here, and exactly the same, I can drill from a district to the territory, and then to the territory, to the accounts, from the territory to the accounts. So basically, I mean, if you have a 10-level hierarchy, you can leverage this 10-level hierarchy directly on the map. Just maybe to finish quickly, you can also drag your own hierarchy right there. For example, just to show it quickly, I will just create a new map. I will then put the turnover, and if I drag my hierarchy right there directly, it works exactly the same. For example, if I click on this one, you can exactly the same. You can leverage your hierarchy. For example, if you use HANA, you probably have already some hierarchy that has been defined, and of course you can leverage it by drilling down to the hierarchy. What you can do as well is that you can customize the layer. So there it's going from the classical yellow to red ranges. But of course, for example, you can make it from light blue to dark blue, from light green to dark green, etc., etc. So you, if you are not, I would say, not happy with the color that the extension has chosen by default, of course you can customize them. And of course, the purpose when you are creating your visualization, the purpose is to share it to your colleagues. Of course, to share your insights, and of course, everything you have seen, you can leverage it I would say, in the compose room when you are creating your own story. So I will go really quickly to all of that. Of course, there this is a story that I've already created, and exactly the same. You have the heat map view, you have the classical chart, etc. You can leverage the drill down, etc., etc. You can have different view, different representation. So for example, right there I have a view per sales rep. I could, for example, filter to only see the restaurant. Of course, I mean, it's up to you to create your own story, to share your insight. So I will go really quickly through that, because it's the whole story, the whole use case is explained right there, and this is not really the purpose of these presentations. So as you can see, you can have several accounts. For example, you could have no, this is not this one, so I guess this is this one. You can have already a filtered view of the data. So for example, there I have highlighted the area where the accounts have overperformed, and there on the left, the area where the most of the accounts are underperforming at the moment. And of course, yes, for example, if I select the data right there and I filter them, it will of course filter the chart, which is the map, sorry, on top of it. So right there, really quickly, what I'm planning to do right now is to go to another demo. So really quickly, because we are running a bit out of time for these presentations. So this one is a bit different. So this one is in Belgium, and it's more a transportation use case. So basically, this is the company which is owning the railways in Belgium, and there are some companies that are running their train to the railways, and basically there is a fee that is applied to this company. For example, if they are late, or regarding the number of trains they want to I would say the number of trains that are going to the railways every day. And so exactly the same. Right there, I'm going to create my visualization. So basically, I have my lines. So there I only have 2 lines, so I don't know if you see them really clearly, but there they are in green, so you can see the line right there. So they have 2 lines. So this is the main line that the trains are taking from when they are going from Paris to Brussels. And of course, I have right now I can apply the fee to this one, so you don't clearly see them. But if I put them in green, maybe it will be better. I don't know if you can see them clearly. So there are 2 lines, the 2 lines right there. And of course, exactly the same. I have some sensor along the lines, and the sensor, they are calculating the fee regarding the trains that are going to the sensors. So as you can see right there, the sensor, for example, this one, there is 37k euros that have been applied to all the company. And right now, I would say this is just a macro view. You could want to see a more detailed view per company, because you know exactly which company is paying what. So exactly the same, I will just drag the company right there in the color. And there you see, I would say, a new type of visualization, which are basically the pie chart. And this pie chart will give you an information for each company. So for example, for this sensor, now let's select maybe this one. So for example, Thalys, you know how many Thalys is paying. You know exactly the same for Wigo, for the SNCF, for EV, etc., etc. So you can analyze, and you can say, okay, for example, in Brussels, this is where the sensor, they are getting I would say, the more fees are applied. So you can see that the SNCF is paying this much, etc., etc. And if you go to some other parts, of course, you can have a more detailed view for each sensor, and everything like selecting the data, like filtering, etc., etc. They work exactly the same. So I won't go through it again. So as you can see, we have seen a demo where we have some custom territories in the Bahamas, and there we have a demo where we have custom railways. So right now you could say, okay, this is cool to see that, but how can I import my own geodata to consume them into Galigeo for Lumira? So I'm just going to leave Lumira to show you another tool, which is called the Galigeo Manager. So basically, it's a desktop tool that is embedded when you download Galigeo for Lumira and Galigeo for Design Studio. And this is this tool which will let you, we say, manage your extension, and will let you import the geodata so you can consume them in our extension. So basically, the Galigeo Manager comes with some geodata included by default. For example, the French region, there is also for Germany, from USA, etc. But what is really interesting is that you can import your own layer. For example, the Belgium railways, as you can see right there, or we can see our sales territory for Bahamas. There is some railways in Israel, etc., etc. And basically, it's a pretty straightforward process. There you just click Add Content. You have the choice between selecting a static file, like a CHEP file, a GeoJSON file, a JSON file, or you can directly connect to your ArcGIS server. So I won't go to the ArcGIS server presentation. Basically, it's just a URL. You have to pass it right there, and then the Galigeo Manager automatically establish a connection between the server, the S3 server, and the Galigeo for Lumira. I don't know if we have enough time to show. Okay, so basically, right there, just to maybe really quickly. So for example, right there, I have. So I will just show you the district that I've shown in the Bahamas demo. So I have my shape file. So I just downloaded it from internet. I've got this file. I mean the .chp. I don't really know what is it. All I know is that I can import it with the Galigeo Manager. Just click Open. There, and then you just click OK right there, and the data is automatically loaded. And then there is just a small piece of configuration right there where you have to put the name of your BI dimension to create the link between this data, this geodata, and your BI dimension. And then you can consume this data into Galigeo for Lumira. So it's pretty straightforward process and really easy to understand. And once you get the concept, I mean, starting to be really easy to add your own geodata. So I think we are done for the
this is also, it's a good segue to get into Design Studio, just because you're going to configure pretty much the connection to your GIS data sources exactly the same way with the Manager product. Manager is included with Design Studio, with Lumira, with our extensions in general. It's really the one part of the solution that's more geared for, I don't want to necessarily say an admin, more of a power user that can configure base maps, that can configure as well that GIS connection that Vincent just walked us through to then consume that data from the BI environment itself. So as Design Studio opens up, I'm also going to show in the browser. I'm not necessarily going to take you guys through a few examples of actually creating a report on the fly in Design Studio. I'm more going to show the process of, in a first part, you're going to pretty much the same as Lumira, access our extension directly through Design Studio. You're going to develop maps, visualizations, everything through our extensions from the Studio environment itself. And users, what they're going to be presented with is more of that custom application. They can take the shape of a dashboard. They can take really a look and feel that's going to be something that's going to be maybe unique to your organization itself. But we'll show today what we did with the state of New York and taking into account their transit, which is going to be around railways. And wanted to just show maybe two of these applications to illustrate, again, some of these core features that we saw in Lumira, to show how it also translates across the other SAP BI products themselves. So we did mention that one of the big areas for us is going to be around transportation and being able to see the different, in this case it's going to be railways, on a map itself. I do like to start first and foremost with something a little bit more unique. Rather than necessarily showing the railways to start, this whole application in the first part is going to be around incidents, maintenance, and workforce management itself. You're going to have the ability to come in on these maps and drill into these different areas on the fly to see, in this case here, it's going to be how workers are necessarily allocated to these different incidents. You're going to get your initial information around them, but more importantly, you can come in and you can also link some of this information to external systems. Clicking on a worker, in this case, is going to pretty much populate who that individual is, other specific indicators around them, and you can also have the ability to launch additional actions to external sites, whether it's Skype, whether it's LinkedIn, whatever it may be to get to that additional information. In this example, we also illustrate the notion of how you can have multiple cascading maps that will drive pretty much the behavior in the application itself. Making a selection on one map is also going to update pretty much the other maps as well too. You can have as many selections on one map as you want, and in real time is going to update that information on the other visualizations. You can have some of the more traditional filtering mechanisms with these pop-outs, with these different multi-selects, that is going to help you also pretty much manage how users are going to be able to update or get to insights that they want on the fly as well too. I won't go through this in real time, but I think you understand it. Similarly, you can click on other visualizations to update the information that you're seeing on the map itself. This speaks to that whole notion of bidirectional BI, where you can pretty much have some of the maps or some of the more traditional outputs updating what information will be presented to a specific user. In this specific use case, we're looking in particular at two KPIs. We're focused on the number of incidents as well as maintenance, and they have a few different things around maintenance that they're looking to assess, like the cost and the expected, different performance indicators as well too. But basically, they were looking for a way to quickly manage and see where a lot of the incidents were occurring and what were the associated maintenance costs with these different railways in New York. So very similarly to what we just did on the other application, users can come in, they can select some of the different railways directly from the map itself. We can have as many different multi-selects as we want. It's going to update the rest of the visualizations in this application on the fly. You can have some of these cascading filters where you can pretty much, in this case, pick the railway or pick the category of incident that you're looking to see. If we remove some of these filters, it's also very easy for us to then come in and, let me just remove all of these, start using some of the other more traditional types of visualizations created with Design Studio to drive the data that's being populated on the map itself. So we have this whole notion of bidirectionality, we have this whole notion of filtering. What a lot of our users are doing is also including some of these custom buttons that aren't necessarily open a spreadsheet or export to Excel. You can include a lot of different types of actions already with Design Studio. What our users have been doing is including an export to Lumira function. We all know that there's quite a bit to expect from SAP with Lumira and Design Studio in the near future, and these products becoming more of an integrated suite. We want to also illustrate with our extensions exactly how you're going to be able to have that persist, and just incorporating some of these small things helps users then get to a more of a self-service environment to continue their analysis outside of this managed starting point that was created with Design Studio. One final application in Design Studio that I will just speak to, once again, is going to drive home the ability for you to really customize the look and feel both from a territory standpoint, bringing in some more of these custom types of territories, as well as the ability to also include custom types of icons on these maps that you're able to have now within this studio environment. Filtering on one of the maps can very easily drive the behavior on the other maps as well as other applications themselves. You can very easily see, as I'm doing this in real time, you're going to be able to start seeing where these different maintenance costs are going to start posing incidents. And very similarly, you can start pretty much using some of the other outputs that you created, the bar charts in this case, to drive what it is that we're seeing on the map. Finally, I won't do the export to Lumira, but you can include this wherever you want. You can pretty much have these custom cascading filters wherever you want in Design Studio. You can get very granular in the look and feel and the functionality and how you want users to access this information in general from this environment. In the 1 or 2 minutes that we have left before opening the floor back up to questions, I won't spend too much time here, but some of you probably recognize this environment as well too. Within Webby, users are going to have also a very similar experience. Same type of process to create a report using our extensions as it would be to create a report within Webby. You're going to have the ability to have more of that ad hoc type of process for users to be able to come in, open up a starting point, and from there, in this case, they're going to have a lot of flexibility to customize sort of how they see the information on the map, and more importantly, what they can do with that information to get to underlying data sets and socialize that information with other users within the organization. Okay, bear with me here 1 second, sorry about that. So with Webby, you've already invested resources, you've already invested time in creating some of these more traditional types of operational outputs. That could be data tables, that could be bar charts, stack charts, whatever it really may be. You can start enhancing these environments by bringing life to some of these more static type of operational outputs by incorporating a map that gives users a lot of dynamic capabilities to also get to information that they need on the map and then to underlying outputs that were created within Webby themselves. Just for this final purpose, I'll open up the map as a standalone report so you can see exactly what's going on. Again, we have this notion of custom territories on the map. This doesn't follow, obviously, geopolitical boundaries defined by the states across North America. Same as in Design Studio, same as within Lumira. Your users, they are going to be presented with a legend. That legend is going to give them some type of indicator around what the KPI is here. It's number of customers as well as energy recovery. We're looking at different releases here across the U.S. And users also have the ability to toggle on and off some of these different layers, where if they don't necessarily want to see things segmented by their custom territories, you can include some of the more traditional ways of seeing some of this information on a map, whether it's by state, county, a specific city, wherever you are in the world. and also blend other types of data sources, not just, let's say, the operational data sets themselves, but other things like census data, that you can also include labels across some of these different specific locations across the U.S., and users can come in, they can toggle on and off what it is that they want to see in real time on the map itself. If I want to see a specific indicator here, or maybe remove a label on a map, users can come in and they can also customize every single one of these layers themselves as a business user. They are taken to a wizard. In this case here, it's more editing an existing layer, but lets them once again get very granular in how it is that they see information themselves. They can add additional layers. They're not just limited to one layer here in the actual extension. They can pretty much add new layers that may not be originally available by that power user in that managed environment. Vincent showed a couple selection tools, whether it was free form or I believe it was more based on ISO distance. We do have drive time capabilities, so something based more on minutes or hours, and the ability for you to come in, place a point on a map, extract the information, and in this case here we have a couple options. Our engine gives you the ability to see different statistical measures around the data sets that you're looking at and gives you quick snapshots of what that information looks like or how it's distributed. But more importantly, you can see that you can have additional actions, whether exporting to CSV or more importantly drilling down into an underlying data set, an underlying report that we call a geo report that could be limited to one or as many different drill paths as you want. But it's as simple as for a user to select which report he wants to drill down into, and he will be taken immediately to, in this case here, it's going to be a data table, a visualization, whatever it really is that that user needs to get to as an insight. While that loads up, there is one final or two final areas I wanted to showcase. First and foremost, with Manager, we didn't necessarily speak to this, but you have the ability to change your base maps. You also have the ability to bring in custom base maps. We are an Esri Gold partner, so you are going to first and foremost benefit from that partnership by being able to consume Esri base maps without necessarily also having Esri licenses in place. But you're not just limited to that. We also have other options like OpenStreetMaps and other custom base maps, more importantly your own custom base maps that you can include in the product and toggle on the fly to give more of a personal look and feel for that user. The final thing I just wanted to speak to before opening up the floor here is the ability for you guys to show more of a evolution of the actual territory over time. And something that's going to illustrate that in our product is really what we call a motion map. And I will actually show it from one other application, so we don't necessarily stay in the same one the entire time. If it's more of a retail type of use case, and we want to see how a specific territory has changed or evolved over time, you have the ability to use what we call motion map. So in this application, the user is going to pick and choose his query. Same way I can have the map be a standalone report. And immediately a user is going to be presented with an option once this loads up that is going to be called motion map. And it's basically going to show how data has evolved over a period of time in a specific territory. Here we can see our stores located in the south of France. If we keep drilling into this information, we're going to start getting to some of the other layers of information that we've defined. And we want to see how year to year revenue has changed in this specific territory. So I'm going to put a few things here that will help also see how this territory has changed, how it's evolved. Actually, I'll do it with clusters. And there we go. It's as easy as just coming in, setting the filter, and we can we can see how this territory has changed, how it's progressed over the past, in this case here, it's 5, 8, 12 specific intervals of time. I'm sure that we gave a lot of information. I know that there were a few individuals that have already asked questions in the chat, but I did want to open up the floor again for a general discussion here, Adrian, and more importantly, I do know that you did want to save some time at the end for a final little forum that we wanted to open up to the attendees as well.
So a question on the licensing and pricing of the extensions. I don't know if anyone from Galigeo wants to answer that here, or
can keep it general, Adrian. The best way to answer that question is we align with the exact license configuration that SAP BI pretty much has already placed in an organization. There's two models that we typically see, a named user license model and a concurrent session model. So we have both of these options for all of our extensions. And the nice part about our extensions is most of the individuals on this webinar have a relationship already with SAP. We are a solution extension partner of SAP, which means that not only do we have a very tight technical integration, SAP also commercializes our extensions in conjunction to the SAP BI environment. So you can engage directly with your SAP account managers, with your SAP reps, to understand what options they could present to you in pricing. But from what we see, it aligns with the SAP model that is in place, which is named user or concurrent sessions.
Very good. And if that answers your question, great. If not, to Stevie and others, please feel free to elaborate. We have some questions that are coming in, and we'll stay on the line. So Steve says, thanks, that's great. So at least you keep it as simple as you can. I know licensing is always a thorny issue with SAP, but at least you align with our models. So that's good. Sam, I've tried to contact Galigeo several times. My customer experience has not been pleasant. I'm sorry to say that. Who can I talk to regarding technical issues and licensing? I don't know if you want to take.
Sam, I can help with that, and I do apologize that you've had maybe a bad experience in the past. What would be helpful, either you can engage directly with Galigeo through our website, galigeo.com, and just submit a request to us. What would be helpful for us, at least to understand, if you do have a focus, I don't know if it's on SAP BI, the suite itself, on all three core solutions, or if you have a focus on Webby, Lumira, or Design Studio. If it is, I can align with product experts from our end, depending on what your project is around. More importantly, SAP has the same functions internally as well too, and can engage with us directly as well. So, by all means, I'm sure Adrian has shared some contact information already here, and if not, we can definitely get you some additional contact information on how to get engaged with us after this discussion.
Okay, very good. Yes, indeed, I have posted my email address, Philippe. So for
Perfect.
Sam, if you're failing through other channels, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help and to act as an intermediary. Question from Sriram. What is your support for different Design Studio versions, 1.5 or 1.6? Is there some support levels that you do or do not support, Philippe or Vincent?
Yeah, so for Design Studio, currently, yes, we support the 1.5 and 1.6 version. But what I want to precise is that we also align with what SAP is saying, I would say, in terms of supporting the version. So for the moment, if tomorrow Design Studio there is a new version, for the next version is supposed to be the 2.0. So of course we will be compatible with the 2.0. And if SAP stops supporting the 1.5, then we won't be supporting the 1.5 as well.
When regarding Design Studio or Lumira 2.0, how about the licensing model?
Well, I'll stop typing. It will not change anything. So if SAP introduces a new license model, we'll align with that new license model. From our understanding, I still think it will be based around concurrent sessions as well as user options. If there are other choices that SAP is planning on introducing, we obviously are going to work with the commercial teams at SAP to understand what those options are and ensure that we align accordingly. Our goal is to make this easy for our customers, for SAP customers, to augment capabilities in an environment that you've already invested in, that you already have stood up, and that you have infrastructure around. So we wouldn't introduce something that would either conflict with that model or that would introduce something completely different. To maintain that is a lot easier, is what we've seen in this market.
Regarding the visualization of data, we'd like to use factory shop floor mapping for navigation, emergency preparedness, etc. So, of course, I assume that the Galigeo solution will and has been used for things such as shop floor and building mapping as well, not just at the more macro level?
So we have supported projects that speak to these types of use cases specifically. The one caveat I will throw out there is for more of the facility management types of projects and use cases where you might have a school or a tall building with a lot of different floors, we cannot show the different floors in more of a three-dimensional type of view in our extensions. That is the one key thing I do want to throw out there, but we have worked with those types of organizations that have had to show a specific building, a specific floor, and KPIs around what it is that they wanted to see in that specific infrastructure.
Do we have any limitation of use with regard to mobile devices and different browsers? How compatible are you, is basically the question.
We are, I believe, pretty much agnostic, and when it comes to mobile, we are HTML5 compatible, so you will have the ability with Design Studio, with Lumira, to consume these outputs on tablets and mobile devices.